What's up, everybody? It's Chris from Pro Photo, and this is Geared Up. This is our weekly live broadcast where we talk about lighting, techniques, photography, anything that you want to talk about, hopefully mostly related to lighting, but that's what we do here at Geared Up. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments section. We're more than happy to answer anything that we can answer for you. That being said, if you're watching this on prophoto.com, you're going to see some stuff pop up around the edges. If you want some more information on those things, you can click them. We'll minimize. It'll keep rolling. If you're watching this on social channels, that's not going to happen. If you want it, go to prophoto.com. If you don't want it, hang here with us. So let's dive into our topic today. Today we're talking about diffusion, what it is and what it isn't. And then we have a cool little thing set up. I know Caitlin can probably cut to the camera. You can see like weird angles on us today. It's because we have, because we have a big softbox with a big frame there that will be another piece of diffusion that we put over it. So it should be really, really fun. But let's first talk about what diffusion is. Diffusion is just simply taking something and evening it out, right? So one of the biggest misconceptions with lighting, and I'm going to do this with an on-camera flash, because you see most people saying this with on-camera flashes. So if I take this diffusion dome right here on this A10, and I put it on top of the flash didn't get any softer. What diffusion is doing is it's evening out the light spread, right? So in order for this to get softer, the size of this modifier would have to get larger in relationship to me. That's what soft and hard light is. So the larger the light source is in relationship to the subject, the softer the light's going to be. The smaller the light source is in relationship to the subject, the harder the light source is going to be. So just because I took a dome, which is the exact same size as the head of this A10, and I popped it on there, didn't change the quality of light as far as hardness and softness goes. What it did do is take that light spread and even it out some more. And that's what diffusion is going to do. The cool thing about diffusion is you can keep layering it. And that's kind of what we have set up today. So it should be really, really fun. It's not a super hard to digest live, mostly because it's the end of the year and I can't digest anything else.
Do that.
Yes. So, but it should be really, really cool. Kate's gussied up. If you didn't see the main photo that went out, Kate's gussied up, ready to rock and roll. And we'll build it all up. So what we're essentially going to do first is we're going to build we're going to talk about different layers of diffusion and adding them along the way to see how that changes the quality of the light. We're going to wind up going through 3 layers of diffusion. You could go through more if you want to. You just want to make sure that there's some space in between. I've seen some people take like an umbrella with a diffusion panel and they just start putting diffusion panels over the top of the umbrella. And at that point, you're just starting to cut out light. So every time you run through the diffusion, you're going to lose some light. But if you're just taking an umbrella and putting a diffuser over it and then putting another diffuser over it, the light source is still the same for the most part as far as its size, as far as where the light source is beginning from. So there's no more evening out of the light. You're not stacking the diffusion to make it catch the light, even it, catch the light, even it, if you understand what I'm saying. So you kind of want to have some space in between your diffusion. And so that's what we have set up with this experiment today. So if you want to kick to that super wide shot, again, I'll explain to people what in tarnation I have going on here. I'll creep over here into the shot so you can see it. So I was thinking originally what we would do is can they see my stupid face or am I kind of out of it? I'm very dark, okay. But oh, you know what? Here's a good idea.
You can see your hat.
Hold on. Here's a good idea. Let's kick on the modeling light of the pack. There we go. I'm alive. I live. So the gist of the experience or the experiment was originally I was thinking about going with a zoom reflector and then putting a little piece of diffusion paper in front of it and just seeing how that evened out. But I started thinking about this a little bit more, and one of the cool things that you can actually do with, and I recommend doing this like with a light that you can put a dome on. So this is a Pro head, but you can do it with like a B1 or a D2. That way the light's thrown a little bit more around the softbox. So but what I realized we could do is we could go with a softbox, all the diffusion off, so it's essentially a gigantic reflector, right? So the light will still be soft because it's gathering light and it's throwing it out in a big fashion, but there's going to be this directness to it, this really cool light. If none of you have ever shot with a softbox with no diffusion on the front of it, it looks really cool, and you're going to see some of those images as we start to build this. It's actually going to be the first image you see, but it's a really cool look, something that maybe you want to add to your repertoire. So we'll start there, and then after that, we'll build up by adding the middle layer of diffusion that this 5-foot octa has. So the middle layer of diffusion will go up, then so on to the outer layer of diffusion, and then here I have a large butterfly, so a 6-foot by 6-foot butterfly scrim. It's up there, so I'll have to climb up high and drop it down so we can actually see it, but we should be able to go through 3 layers of diffusion. We should even out the light a little bit more every single time, and we'll see what that overall diffusion looks like on Kate. We're gonna just take the shots with this main light, and then after we get the diffusion looking all nice and pretty, we will add in a rim light, and we will add in a main light. This is essentially our fill light, but I still want you to see the cool things you do. A lot of times too, some of these big Vanity Fair shots, or Vogue magazine covers and things like that. Some of these, especially like, you know, your Leibovitz shots and stuff like that. A lot of the times they're running through multiple layers of diffusion. And again, I almost did it, but I realized I was going to run out of room. I have an 8x8 and a 12x12, and I almost went 5 layers deep, but then I was like, Kate and I are going to have anywhere to stand. So we're just going 3 layers deep today. So let's start off. So, cool. So just so you know, again, what we're starting this with, I had this running through the Pro 11 pack with a Pro head R5 5-foot octa. So this is a 5-foot octa box. You ready to rock and roll, Kate?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. I'm shooting with camera-wise because people love to know settings, so we're going to talk about settings. Camera-wise, I'm shooting with a GFX 100S. It's got a 45 millimeter lens on it, which I think works itself out to 35 millimeters in full frame world, so we can do the full body shot of Kate. Settings-wise, I'm at 1/25th of a second, f4, ISO 100, and yeah, we're getting ready to rip. Caitlin's just getting us set up there so we can kind of see what's going on.
Sorry, hold on.
We're just making sure that like you can see everything from everywhere. So just so you know, while she's getting that set up, this 3-foot OCF octa on a B10 will wind up being our main light, and then we have another B10 plus. You can't really see it. It's kind of in the depths of the corner over here as the rim light here in a second. So let's do this.
Hello.
Hey everybody. Well, so like we talked about last week when I was reaching my hand in awkwardly to trigger the light, I've opted to go with the way that I said would have been smarter, and I'm going to be sitting on a Apple box over here out of the way of the light. So here's the first shot of Kate, 5-foot RFI octabox, no diffusion whatsoever. So we go 3.
Don't forget leg it popped.
Yep, we're leg popping.
Okay.
Can I pop my leg? There, like this.
Yeah, okay, good.
Cool.
Good work.
Perfect. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Cool. So that's a shot. Just hang there for a second. I want to make sure we're good on focus. Yep. Focus is nice. You can see that shot right there. You gonna do one more?
Yeah.
She's not feeling good about that one, party peeps. Yeah. You're looking fab. You're looking fab.
Well, thank you.
No. So, okay. Go chin down just a touch for me. There we go. Right there. Perfect. So, nope, chin down just a touch. There we go. 3, 2, 1. Lovely. So that light is quite beautiful, right? It's still big and soft. It covers a lot of light. Again, it's essentially at this point a 5-foot reflector. It's just throwing light straight forward in this big with this big modifier. But it's got some hardness to it. So just so you can kind of see the like chin shadows and stuff like that. You can. Are you just gonna go straight to the computer? So you can see that there is a hard line shadow there underneath the chin. So it is broadcasting hard light. Look right there under the nose, hard light. So very, very cool stuff. It's got, you know, if you look in the eye, it's got that nice little speck of hard light, and then the skin's got that kind of snappy glow to it, while all the time being relatively soft. You have that hard line of demarcation, but look how like the shadow is not overly contrasty, which is cool. So let's throw on the first layer of diffusion. So I'm gonna go back here.
Let me see if I can switch you to.
Yeah. So this is, you're gonna get to see me stand up on an Apple box, potentially fall to my death. In that case,
Please don't do that.
yeah, in that case, someone else can take over geared up. Maybe.
Can't do it myself.
Yeah. Maybe Stefan can take it over.
Yeah.
There we go. So this is the inner layer of diffusion. We'll still kind of have some of the specularity because some of the silver, I don't know if you can kind of see this right here, but some of the silver sticks out around the edges. So there'll be some of that snap that silver gives, but this first layer of diffusion will start to even stuff out quite a bit. So and I'm going to, just to save my backside. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you so much. I'm going to label this one, or I'm going to
label your photo.
Yeah, I'm going to just start. I'm just going to use colors because I'm sure I'm going to start typing and then it's going to start changing. So, yep, ready to rock and roll. You know what? I'm not going to lie. I might have made a terrible mistake. Let me look at something. Unless my trigger says that those lights are off, but those lights are not off. Hold on a second. We may have to retake the diffusion shot, or the non-diffusion shot, but we'll take it like this. No, I didn't forget to turn off the trigger. For some reason, you know what? I bet I haven't updated the firmware on this light. Hey everyone, update the firmware on your lights. That's what happened. Pardon me for 3 seconds. Pardon me for 3 seconds. We're gonna get a light with updated firmware. That way I can actually, that way I can actually control what's going on, because I think we were actually firing the main, even though I didn't want to be firing the main. So let's do this really fast.
I think everybody must be vacationing. So I'm not seeing many
Cool.
faces in here today.
It's all good. Hello to everybody who is hanging with us today. Really appreciate it. So cool. So we got the battery off of there. Let's just set this B10 down here for a second. Cap off. Oh, cap rolling. All good. Good catch, Kate. So this one is rocking and rolling. I know that the firmware is updated on this one. I took some B10s out of the case for the first time, and I think that's probably the one because I didn't update the firmware. So there we go. Let's get you out of the way. One more time. Yes, we're good to go. Perfect.
Right,
I just want to make sure the rim light is off because now I'm doubting myself. Yep, we're on standby. So let's not take it. Let's take the non-diffusion shot. I'm not going to shoot myself in the foot. I want it to be in order.
All right.
I feel like the last time I did this, I tried to. I'm just going to drop this down. I'm not going to take it all the way off. There. I think we're good there. Compelling television. I get it. All right, here we go. All right, so we're just going to, from here on, now that I know that everything's rocking and rolling, we're just going to roll through. So you ready to go? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Okay, looks similar. Probably pretty much was. But, so let's throw this up here really fast. You can just hang right there, Kate. The next layer of diffusion is going to be super fun. I know. All right, cool. So we're here. Ready to go? Let's go 3, 2, 1. Cool. Nice and even. Let's go. Big layer.
Right, now you're adding another layer of diffusion.
Here comes the third layer, or the second layer of diffusion. Corner. Although, yep, we're going there. So now we're going through a lot. Oh, let's just make sure that we're not getting any light creeping out the sides right there. Boop, boop, boop.
How important is it that you get all of it covered?
I mean, so someone was wondering how important is it that you get all the softbox covered? It's relatively important, especially if you're using only one layer of diffusion. It's probably more important than the fact that we have 2 layers of diffusion inside the softbox. So the reason is there could be stray light that comes out of the side of the softbox, and that stray light could cast like weird light streaks. And you might get into your photo, you're like, what in the world is that? And it could be something as simple as the light coming, sneaking out of your diffusion panel. The cool thing is you don't have to go too crazy. You could literally, you could push it down at the corners and then kind of push it down. Oh, you're going to show it to them really fast. So you can push it down at the corners like this, and then just kind of give it a push down, like maybe 1, 2, 3 pushes as you're going down, depending on how big the softbox is. But you want to try to at least, you know, it's not super tight right here. I can get my finger up underneath there, but it's pretty close to the line, so there's not going to be any light leak. So I guess it just kind of depends on how your light's being thrown and how you're using your softbox, but I generally tend to try to always close it. Same thing with the back of the softbox too, around the speed ring. I try to always get that close too, because that light can kick out, and if you have a colored wall or something like that, it could broadcast that color somehow, especially if you're trying to be immensely color accurate with what you're doing. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. 2 layers of diffusion. Now let's add the third. Cool. Again, the third layer is this large butterfly, 6 foot by 6 foot. This is not a Profoto thing. We do not make butterflies. This one, I have a couple of them. I have, this one's by another company called Lastolite, if anyone's gonna ask me. I can say that because we don't make scrims. Or we don't actually make any grip equipment. So we don't have scrims, we don't have butterflies. So Lastolite makes this 6 by 6 or 6.5 by 6.5. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm just gonna kind of get that like that. And then I was gonna use, I also have an Avenger setup, or is it a Matthews? It might be a Matthews setup, Matthews Grip Company. And they, I have like an 8x8 and a 12x12 with them. Pretty legit. Honestly, if I probably would have set the 12x12 up, I would have shot myself in the foot with this whole thing. So cool. So now we're going through 3 layers of diffusion. If I, yeah, that was my finger. Cool. Let's do this. So 3 layers of diffusion. And just for the record too, with me sitting in front of it, not that big of a deal. The light modifiers are so big, it's just wrapping around me. And I'm pretty low as far as like where the source is coming from. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Super duper soft. Let's take a second to load up. Let's look at the diffusion shots first, and then we'll just build up a couple others. And we'll call it a day, party peeps. And then I'll wind up seeing you, or we'll both wind up seeing you after the new year. So let's get this tether cable out of the way. I don't want to crush it. It's a very nice tether cable. Are we centered up? Yeah, we're good here. So let's go full screen so we can see everything. It's all good. Full, bop, bop, and bop. So if you look at the images, let's zoom in closer to you in each one of them. You know, I'm gonna try the thing one more time that someone said do. If I hold down Shift, yeah, there it goes. Look at that. It's like I'm a professional Capture One user. Perfect. So looking at all the images, first and foremost, again, because the 5-foot octa is large, even though the light is direct and it has that hard light quality to it, it still does a lot of coverage and is still relatively soft, right? That's one of the things that's kind of cool about it. So if we like check out the line here underneath her chin, you can see there's a hard line mark. The light is well above her. It's probably 8 feet, 9 feet up. And then so it's coming down, so it's going to cast that shadow downward. But the cool thing is the rest of the light source is large, so you're getting that direct light from the middle of the thing, creating that hard shadow, but you're also getting fill from the same direction from the modifier being so large, which is really, really cool. And then you throw on the first layer of diffusion, you can see that shadow under the chin has now started to feather out. The line of demarcation has grown quite a bit. So the light's getting much softer. There's still some pop of the skin, which is really, really nice, but starting to soften out quite a bit. Then you throw on the third layer of diffusion, or the second layer of diffusion, and then we're starting to feather out quite a bit. There's much less shadow. The light is very, very even, especially also one of the other things to look at. So because this is still kind of a hard light that's diffused out, there is a shadow here from her body. So we are casting light onto the background. We're also working at a longer distance, so the light hitting her is pretty even. but really, really cool stuff. And then that shadow is still kind of here, starting to feather out some more, here. And then once you get over here to this third diffused light, which is, it's doing a pretty good job of filling up most of this butterfly. It does a really, really good job of, huge light source, really, really even, really, really diffused. It's beautiful stuff. So if you start to look at the shadow under the chin now, it's almost gone, right? I mean, there is a little bit of darkness under there from some shadow, but it's really starting to even that light out quite a bit. And then if you look from top to bottom, let's do this shift thing. Let's zoom back out. You can see how the background, so like here, it's still doing a lot of coverage, but there might be like a little bit of the light falling off here towards the edges. And then it starts to open up. And then look at this from top to bottom, side to side. I mean, look at okay, so here's a big difference, right? So look at the leg down here with the foot. So that 5-foot octa with no diffusion on it is pretty direct. It's throwing the light pretty straight. And then now the light's starting to fall off here to the edge. That first layer of diffusion starts to even that light out some more. So you're getting some more light down the leg, evens the light out some more here with the second layer of diffusion. And then the third layer of diffusion, top to bottom, we're pretty darn even, right? So just again, your diffusion is just evening out the light. The softness is going to come from the size of the modifier. So as you're doing this, if you start stacking your diffusions, you're going to want to start getting larger. And inherently, that's going to get softer. But diffusion doesn't make things softer. It's the diffusion with us mixing in larger and larger modifiers and then in relationship to Kate. That's what's making the light softer, but the diffusion is just evening that light spread out. It's taking the beam that you're seeing here with this 5-foot octa, a 5-foot octa with a beam, because there's no diffusion on the front of it. And again, you can see that because of the light starting to come down. Also, I think some of this too is my shadow, now that I'm looking at this here. That could be actually some of my shadow. So it could be totally off on that one. But the difference between the one layer diffusion and the third layer diffusion also kind of tells that same story. So yeah, my shadow is probably playing a little bit of a part in this ankle area right here, but the difference between here and here, where the soft light is going to get rid of me altogether, shows you that that diffusion is doing a very good job of evening out the subject. And think about this, the light source is getting closer to Kate, right? So we're not, the inverse square law is not playing as much of a part as this is. Like right here, front to back is probably a little more the same exposure as opposed to this, because that light source is getting closer. So things to think about, but very, very cool stuff. Any questions from anybody about diffusion, or we keeping it pretty low key today?
Low key?
I like low key. Cool. So again, diffusion, just evening out your light source. It's a really cool tool to use. Just understanding what it does, it helps broadcast the light a little more even. It doesn't inherently make the light softer. What it can do is cut down on some specularity, which I think some people are going to attribute to harshness. In that case, yeah, diffusion's 100% going to do that. It's going to take some of that harder direct light. It's going to disperse it a little bit more. The quality of the light as far as its hardness or softness is going to be the same. It's just going to take some of that specularity out of the shot. So hopefully that was some cool information. Kate and I had a lot of fun, setting all this stuff up and experimenting and having a good time with it. And again, I was inspired by a lot of this. I have some friends at a camera store out in Santa Barbara that isn't there anymore. They were doing some experiments one day and they were stacking like 5, 6, silks on top of each other. And then just the crazy diffuse light that it was making was bonkers. So it's one of those things that inspired me to mess around with this a little bit more. And I thought the 5-foot with no diffusion and then building a diffusion was a cool experiment. So with that being said, hopefully you have an awesome holiday season. You have a happy, happy new year. In the meantime, we'll see you next time. Peace out.